Welcome everyone back to the Pommy and Fazz EPL show. We're back. It's EPL Eve. Technically, we're T-minus 7 hours away from it all beginning. As always, I'm joined by lover of all things round ball and lover of West Ham, Mr. Fazz. How are you doing?
Mate, I'm very good. This is like a kid on Christmas, my friend. It is the night before the real stuff kicks off. You can have your footy, you can have your cricket, but this is what it's all about. I'm so excited, and obviously wearing this because the Matildas are doing a bang up job. And mate, greatest sport in the world. It's about to kick off. So pumped.
Mate, we're just around the corner, and obviously, we did Liverpool last episode. Obviously, 100 and odd million for Caicedo. With reports filtering through that the deal is not done, and Chelsea are loitering as we speak, and he's digging his heels in. Reports filtering through. I think it's Sky Sports reporting it that Caicedo is not 100% happy with the deal and hoping Chelsea make a last-minute bid. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, obviously, Caicedo, he was almost a lock to go to Chelsea last season. It's not happened. Could be huge news, couldn't it?
Oh, mate, well, he's obviously got a massive decision to make. Massive decision. And I actually don't blame him. I don't blame him. Dig your heels in, because really this is a decision that's going to, make or break his career. And yeah, it's big. I mean, next question is, who would you rather go to? I think that's the question. You ask yourself, anyone who's arguing, and unless you've got a dog in the fight, we're pretty neutral here. Like, who would you rather go to?
As a United boy, it pains me. I'd think the project at Liverpool, to me, is more guaranteed than Chelsea. Yeah. I still am on the fence with Chelsea. If I was Caicedo, I would say Liverpool, you're going to play. At Chelsea, you don't know what they're doing. Like, they could sack Poch January. You get someone that doesn't rate you. I think, Klopp staying at Liverpool unless he chooses to go. I can't see Klopp. I think Klopp's at that stage now that it's Barcelona, Real Madrid, or the German national job. He ain't leaving.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, look, I don't disagree with that. I guess it depends on him as well. I mean, I think Liverpool are kind of in a mini rebuild, let's say. And maybe he could be the face of that. I don't know, but I've been pretty bullish on Chelsea. I can see them. I've said it before. I think Pochettino is the best manager in the Premier League at the moment. So I think he's going to do wonders. So, yeah, at the risk of being called, splinter bum, I'll sit on the fence here, and I actually can't make a decision on who I'd rather go to, but I would love to see Liverpool miss out on one. That'd be pretty handy.
Yeah, well, I mean, there was the Liverpool fans were very excited, but I mean, we come on to City. I know these are Adrian Sal, who's in chat. His team, City, as always, active in the off season. Would it be Man City if they didn't buy players? Kovacic comes in for 25 mil. It's not often you can say City and shrewd business. Ironically, not reported, but Spike Brits, the 15-year-old from Wimbledon, came across from the Wimbledon Academy. And Gvardiol, the centre-back, he finally comes in. It looked like it was never going to get done. It finally did. And also reports that your boy, Lucas Paqueta, is going in, which I do think is hilarious because the fee is almost the Declan Rice fee, which if West Ham, and we'll talk about it from West Ham's perspective when we come on to them, but if they get that kind of money for Paqueta, which is nearly Declan Rice. West Ham need fraud investigating.
Yeah, look, I mean, we won't talk about the West Ham stuff at the moment, but Man City, I mean, first. A lot of people say the Premier League, is a 4-horse race or whatever, but at the moment, when a 2-horse race involves Arsenal, it's pretty much a 1-horse race. So Man City are home. They'll clean it up and long may it continue, and let everyone play second fiddle because they're just the best in the world. They'll continue to be the best in the world. And I don't buy into this garbage of overspending. I mean, look at the absolute gash that some of these Premier League teams have spent money on. That's my argument for Man City. Yes, they spend the money, but at least they spend it on quality. And I mean, the Lucas Paqueta link, would you call that quality? Personally, I love him. Is he Man City quality? Probably not. Which is why I genuinely don't think it'll happen, because they won't pay the money that West Ham expect, which damn right they should bloody demand. But they only buy quality. I mean, we spoke about Arsenal last week and the money they spent, Havertz and so on. It's just Man City don't burn money where the other clubs do burn money. And that's why they're the best.
You know what? I took the piss at the start about overspending. One thing I'll say, right? And I think I'm qualified as a United fan. If I pay City a compliment, it's because I'm telling the truth. It's not because I've been a dickhead. But you actually look at their net spend this year, it's 40 million, right? So,
yeah.
But a lot of the players they've sold, right, are academy players. So Shea Charles, he joined Southampton for 11 million. So do you know what I mean? Like, people forget that a lot of their sales are players probably not good enough for City, but they've come through one of the, probably the best academy in the United Kingdom, because the Sheiks went mental. They're actually buffering up James Trafford, another 15 million to Burnley, who is a terrific keeper. I would have loved him maybe over Onana, to be honest, but they've done business. And like you say, it is probably a 1-horse race, isn't it? I mean, they've probably got the best coach in the world. They've got the best philosopher in the world. They've probably got the best budget. But I will say this, people always talk about City spending, but you look at that core that won the league last year, that's been there a long time.
Yeah. They don't spend as much as what people try and act like they spend. Maybe their wages are a little bit up there. I'm not sure, but they simply don't spend as much as what people act like it. And I think, another one was Carlos Borges. He's going to Ajax, 15 million. That's another youth player that's gone. Cole Palmer sounds like he might be heading off to West Ham. So they're able to do that. You've got a great youth system, and that's how you make your money. And that's how they get, people say, financial fair play. They are selling players on the regular. Don't blame them because people are overpaying for their players. People are probably overpaying for their IP more than anything, but the reality is they are an exceptionally run conglomerate, not just football club, conglomerate, and they're the envy of the world. And honestly, forget about finishing second, because Daylight is going to finish second, in my opinion. So everyone's fighting for third.
It's an interesting thing, because I would say this to you, that I agree with you about like City's outs and ins. I think they genuinely do a good job. I think I always feel like they're tarred with the Chelsea bush. When Chelsea got that money, they went mental, didn't they? They were like spending 60 million on the most bit rate football you've ever seen. And they probably, really, Chelsea are the godfathers of transfer fees. I think that probably blew the market open. Before, there were 30 million got you the world's greatest player, and then Chelsea started dropping that on a guy that would be lucky to play reserves football anywhere else. So it's a funny one. I mean, with City, who can stop them, though? I mean, we're going to come on to that a bit later. There's a couple of teams we've got tips up, but Arsenal have obviously I think, breached their usual transfer strategy, and they've obviously spent big. The big thing Arsenal have got is what we were talking about, Caicedo. City are the Liverpool in the Caicedo idea, right? You know what you're getting with Liverpool. You know Liverpool were going to be top four. You know that they're not going to be out of the top four race for long, if at all. Chelsea are kind of like Arsenal in the Caicedo system. Does he back? They'll get back there. So that's what really Arsenal there. That's the problem Arsenal have in the transfer market. Paqueta would probably rather go to City, play 20 games a year, win a Champions League, win a Premier League for lots, as opposed to going to Arsenal and maybe doing it. And it would take a player of probably Mbappe's ilk to choose Arsenal over Man City, because he'd have the arrogance to say, I can catch City on my own. I'm good enough. So that's going to be really interesting, isn't it? Who can stop them, Fazz?
Yeah, look, and I know who can stop them. I think Arsenal can. There's no question they can stop them. But I just think that the quality's just not there. I don't think anyone can stop them. All things being equal, and I'm saying all things being equal, all cards on the table, it's the eve before the season, barring anything ridiculous like injuries and suspensions or whatever, I don't think anyone can stop them. That's a fact. It's a long season. It's a 38-game season
as well.
Oh, mate, there's squad. And this is the thing, you know, and I rate Arsenal tremendously. I think they have a solid manager who just all he needs to do is shave his hair bald, and then he can be like Pep. And they have a really solid squad, and they've spent a stupid amount of money. But pressure's a crazy thing. And what Peter said before about wanting redemption, don't underestimate the mental scarring that bottling the unlosable that they did last season. That was unlosable, and they bottled it. The moment any ounce of fear gets into these players' heads, gone. And they recruited well. Don't get me wrong. Arsenal recruited well. But which players have come in who've been there and back? Declan Rice. I love Declan Rice as much as the next person. He is my boy. I'll never forget what he did for my club. But this is his first chance to play for a big club under pressure. Easy to play for West Ham and all that stuff, and European, you know. Who knows how he's going to react? He might fold. We don't know. Kai Havertz, well, please, good night. Ray played for Brentford. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, they've made some good signings, but you just don't know how they're going to go when the pressure's on. So a long-winded answer to your question, who can compete with Man City? Who can stop Man City? No one. Simple.
Well, I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? I mean, the 115 charges, I suppose we've got to talk about it. I mean, What do you think will happen? I genuinely, heart of hearts, don't think anything will happen. It'll be a slap on the wrist.
Nothing is going to happen. You know why nothing's going to happen? Because they've done nothing wrong. That's why nothing's going to happen. They've done nothing wrong. They can prove it. People are so stupid. People are so stupid. Do you think a multi-trillion, not billion, trillion-dollar organization is going to fuck up something so serious? They've done nothing wrong. They won't do anything. They have the receipts. They've got the documents. They've done nothing wrong. No one would be that fucking stupid to do what these charges are suggesting. No way. And yes, Amy's right. I do love Declan Rice. And you know what? Arsenal will quickly realize they've got the best player in England on their books. And once they do, you'll come back to me and everyone will come back to me and say, geez, Fazz, we really underestimated Rice. Sorry about that. Sorry about saying he was a pony, because he's actually the best fucking player in England. So yes.
You know what I would say, and like Adrian says, you're underestimating how good City are. I think you're right. It was unlosable in that situation. But I think when you put it in perspective, this is how good City are. So you think, right? You look at their team, right? they're starting. Let's go with their starting central three. Like you've got Grealish, Rodri, KDB, right? But already you've got Kovacic, who played for Chelsea last year. Do you know what I mean? He's a top 4 footballer. You've got Calvin Phillips still there on the books. Do you know what I mean? You've got Foden that can rotate through there if you want to. Bernardo Silva if you want
Calvin
to.
Phillips. You got Calvin Phillips.
Phillips if he stays fit. But then Cole Palmer's one of the hottest properties in English football. Do you know what I mean? Just waiting on the bench. Then you look at the forward. Haaland, if he has an injury, Julian Alvarez is a World Cup winner. Right? Do you know what I mean? The defence, Kyle Walker. They loaned Cancelo last year because Rico Lewis's form was so good and he's 18 years old. They brought a Kanji in as a backup. Arguably, the reason they're going to sell Laporte is because Akanji is so fucking good. Like, you can't compete with that depth. Like, we're going to come on to my team in a minute, but United are in the same boat. Varane gets injured or Martinez. We're having Lindelof, who can either be Harry Maguire at Leicester or Harry Maguire at Man United. Do you know what I mean? Like, there is no in between with Lindelof. So they can bring in a World Cup winner. We can't. We're bringing in a guy that might be good, but like Fazz says, under pressure, Lindelof's probably going to give away 3 goals.
Yeah, and I think you're right. And the Alvarez is perfect. Now that Kane's leaving Tottenham, or so we believe, Manchester City have the 2 best strikers in the league, and one of them is going to sit on the bench. It's wild. It is just wild. Like it's sickening at the time. But you know what? One day we'll tell our grandkids about this Manchester City team who just could not be beaten, and they are so good. And mate, the fact that you said Phil Foden as a rotation,
it's mental, isn't it? It's mental.
Oh, mate, it's gross.
The league title is literally usually won on them depth players that when there is a mid-season injury, you've got the international break, Europe, you're almost like the World War II. You're fighting on about 8 fronts. If you don't have depth, you're fucked. And City's depth. City, I would say City could probably finish second in this league if they fielded a second 11.
Oh, 100%. It's wild. It's so good. Let's move on. They're winning it. Let's move on.
Yeah, it makes me sick. But here we are. Manchester United under Ten Hag, the second year. We've got last year third. Do you know what I mean? You got last year's third. Consensus is 4th because the consensus is fucking wrong. But Fazz and Pom have gone second.
Yes, well, the only way I was going to get back on this show is if I said United. When you say no. Look, I love a project. I love a project as much as anyone. I think a chance to praise Arteta and Arsenal. What he's done with Arsenal, that project is fantastic and phenomenal. And I love Ten Hag and what he's doing at Man United. I think the moment they brought him in, that was a clear indication of where Manchester United wanted to go. He's got the players, or starting to get the players he wants in. He's got the goalkeeper he loves. He is bringing in the style he wants, and I genuinely believe that they are going to shock so many teams this season. Second might be a reach. I'll be honest. I am reaching for second, but they're definitely going to surprise a lot of teams because I just love what they're doing. They're getting. I know we'll get to West Ham, but they're getting rid of some of their gash to other teams and improving themselves. But I think, anywhere from that second, third, fourth, big for United.
Well, I mean, a lot of teams are using Saudi Arabia to get the money back. Man United deserve brownie points here because we're going to West Ham. West Ham. Saudi Arabia to United. We're definitely not going to get pinged in these dodgy transfer deals because we're keeping it in-house. We're keeping it in-house. What have United done? Mason Mount, which Mason Mount is an interesting one because I wasn't a big fan of Mason Mount, to be honest. I liked him, just not for us. But then when I saw Arsenal pay 10 million more for Kai Havertz, I was like, what a fucking bargain. This could be the deal of the year. We brought Johnny Evans in just to prove that Ten Hag has got a sense of humour. That is how desperate he was to get Maguire out of the door. But you may remember this time last year, we did a series on how to fix United. And I said, Onana is the guy you want. And Onana finally comes over, the little Cameroonian superstar. And obviously, after missing out on Haaland twice, we went and bought someone who looks a little bit like Haaland, sounds a bit like Haaland, looks a bit like him, and has a very similar name in Rasmus Højlund. So he joins. So United have strengthened the place. And obviously the news today, Garnacho is going to feature. I do think, and this is unbiased, I think if you put Arsenal on a piece of paper, their depth and United's, ours is better. And I would say substantially better. Not just substantially better.
Yeah, it's hard to disagree with that. I think, Onana is just a great signing. I actually really like Mason Mount personally. I think a lot of people.
I like him. I just didn't think he wasn't on my list of 10 players to sign,
which is fair. And I think they're seeing actually. You're bringing me onto a topic that it's probably for another show, but it seems to be English players seem to get a lot of stick for some reason. I don't get it, but anyway, we'll move on. Because again, if his name was Mason Moutinho, everyone would be frothing over the signing. But because it's Mason Mount from Chelsea, it's it's an interesting one.
My issue is I think he's too Mason Moutinho. And, and I would have liked if United had brought someone who is a class. I wouldn't say Declan Rice because that was impossible. It wasn't going to happen. But someone with Declan Rice's high floor. My issue with Mason Mount is I think we have a lot of players that play that role that can give you a 10 out of 10 game. But then you look at them and go, why the fuck are you a footballer next week? So that's my only issue. Call. And I feel like we have a lot of players in that role that can be world beaters, but go missing when you're playing Brighton away.
Yeah, that's a good call. I think that's, in fact, that's an awesome call. There are not too many players who are going around who have that high floor, as you say, like a Declan Rice, and they are worth their weight in gold. So no, I do agree on that. I think with Aldi Haaland, United's season will be dictated by how quickly he settles into the Premier League. And I think that's, if he can settle quickly, find his feet quickly, he'll obviously know the Ten Hag game style because it's pretty common. And if he can settle quickly against the big, bustling Premier League centre backs, I think he'll have a very good season, and so will United.
Well, we got them second there, chat. And I didn't even prompt him, but we talked about Saudi Arabia superstars, and we come to I would say mine and Fazzy's second favourite human being in Eddie Howe. Me and Fazz got this one right as well. We were talking about Newcastle, and everyone was saying dickheads like Zidane. And me and Fazz, classic English manager, young one, Eddie Howe. He took the job 4th last year. Full credit to him. I thought they were sensational. Consensus is 6th. Fazz has gone 6th. I've gone 5th. I think that they'll fall a little bit, but we talked about overspending. I think Newcastle, every signing they make is, I mean this with love, is within the purview of what Newcastle Football Club are. As in that, I think they could probably go and get a Neymar right now. He wants to buy himself out of the contract. They have got the money to make Newcastle a destination that he comes to because they can match Saudi money, right? But I think Tino Livramento, he came in 35 million, bargain buy. Harvey Barnes, 38 million, bargain buy. Sandro Tonali, and this is why I had an issue with Declan Rice. Sandro Tonali is the second coming of Pirlo, right? 55 million, an absolute bargain get. And they got Minter, the young project right winger. But again, they've resisted going after an Oshiman for ridiculous money. They have got, you can see, they have got a model. Young core English players and Europeans that will grow and build together. They've still got Lamichelli's there as well, their old club captain and stuff. They've still got the core nucleus of Newcastle of old. I love what they're doing. And you know what? Full fucking credit to Newcastle. I love what they're doing.
Absolutely. And before we go on, I just big shout out to Paula, my lovely. She's going through a bit of a health battle at the moment. Haven't seen her for a while, but I hope you're well, my lovely Paula. She's a mad Newcastle fan too. So look, Eddie Howe, mate, I've got the biggest man crush on Eddie Howe. I think their transfers, they set the scene. They set the scene last season with Trippier. I think what a signing. You talk about Moneyball or whatever that is, like what a signing, Trippier. And I think without talking about their signings yet, I think blokes like Callum Wilson, Isak, Almiron, they've got, like you said, they've got those blokes there who are just so good. Harvey Barnes, 38 million, chump change, in the modern market for a player who scored and did what he did for Leicester City. What a signing, Harvey Barnes. Livramento, gun, like you said. The only reason I have him as sixth, and we spoke about this last week, Premier League, Champions League. This is a big, big thing for Newcastle. They haven't been there for donkeys, right? This is massive. How they're going to cope with the extra games, I don't know. It's a conservative sixth. And that's wild. When you think about it, it's wild to think that you're saying sixth for Newcastle is conservative. But it is, because I'm just sitting there. I just want to see how they go. I think they'll have a great start. Once the Champions League kicks in, it gets a bit heavy. Callum Wilson's dodgy knees. Can he get through? It's going to be a big watch this space. Eddie Howe, great manager. Love him. Does he have the experience when you've got to play 60 games in a season? Let's see. Can he rotate the squad? Can he keep them all happy? Some egos there, Do you know what I'm saying? Like keeping egos happy in a 60-game season, it's going to be a new challenge for Eddie. And I'm sure he'll do it because I think he is absolute class. But a conservative sixth because I just want to see how they go.
My big question this year for Newcastle, right? And I'm like you. I love them. I had them fifth purely because them extra 10, 15 games stretches your squad. I am going to be really intrigued, though, what their owners do, right? Because we have seen at times, Chelsea a case in point, when Champions League comes in, illusions of grandeur start to seep in. Right? Now, I think what will happen is they will stick the course and they will believe in Eddie Howe and they won't get blindsided and they won't think, oh, fucking hell, we've just beaten Bayern Munich away. Maybe if we get Zinedine Zidane in, we can go to the next stage 5 years early, right? That'll be the test for me when they start playing these games, and I reckon they'll do well because St. James's Park for these Europeans is shit yourselfville. They're not used to it. They'll shit themselves. So that's my fear. When they go into Champions League and they get a couple of results and maybe the league isn't going the way they think, maybe they'll be 9th or 8th during them busy periods. Do they get their heads turned? That's my risk because we've seen it before.
Chairman we see it all the time.
Yeah, chairman is stupid.
I could not. Great, because we spoke about it last week with Bournemouth sacking Gary O'Neill, and I know that's on a lesser scale because they're obviously not playing Champions League. We spoke about it. West Ham are going through a similar thing. All of a sudden, all these West Ham fans, oh, David Moore, we won our trophy. We want sexy football all of a sudden. Like, the mind boggles, because I'm telling you now, chairmen are stupid, but the only people even more stupid are the fans who get on social media, because they'll be the first ones on there who will say, we should get him, we should get him, we should do this, we should do that. Stick with Eddie Howe, because I'm telling you now, he is an absolute star. Because if Newcastle, like we said, if they do what you think they're going to do, or what you hope they don't do, sorry, mate, Eddie Howe's just going to get a job at a bigger club anyway. So he's a gun, and you're right. That's going to be the biggest test. It won't be now. It'll be, let's see what happens if they fall just short. But we spoke about the word. I said it's the P word I love, and project. We just hope the owners, they've gone in with the project. Stick to your project. Stick to your plan, and they'll be fine. But as the minute you, like you said, you start going off that track and start thinking, we can do this, we can do that, we can, in January, sign a 200 million player. I mean, that can actually ruin the whole squad doing something like that. So let's see.
It's one of the things I worry about, especially when there's a coach like Nagelsmann who hasn't got a job. And you can see it, can't you? They get drawn with Barcelona. And do you know what I mean? 1-0, but then they play Sheffield United at Bramall Lane and lose. And the fans start saying, oh, Nagelsmann's there. He could take us to the next level. Who's Eddie Howe? And it starts to filter through. I think if they stick the process, they will be a top 3 club the year after. They have got the money and the project to not just get third, but stay third, second, and take the title. They'll win the title within 10 years.
No, I couldn't agree more. Plan, process, purpose. That's what you just got to do.
I can't wait for doing this show in January. We've sacked Howe. Nagelsmann's in.
Wild. Oh, here we go. Let's get juicy. Let's get juicy.
Here we are, teams that have won the Champions League. There isn't many of them in the Premier League, but you've got one here. Do you know what I mean? The Champions League winners. And Forest, let's be honest, last year we were heavily critical on them because they bought just about half of Europe. I mean, I've not seen it before. I don't think I'll see it ever again, but something like 45 fucking signings. And this year, they've kind of been quite cute this year. That, dare I say it, a good transfer window. Matty Turner comes in from Arsenal, who, if you listen to an Arsenal fan, great bit of business because it means they get Raya for free. They got Ellingar from United, quality signing, young football, and he will be terrific. Aina came in, Norkit, one of the youth from United, came in. Mine and Fazz's favourite player to talk about, Chris Wood, Newcastle's first big signing. He joins, Premier League experience. He's been there, done it. A proper bottom 4 player is Chris Wood. We've got them 15th. I've got them 18th. I've got them relegated. Consensus is 17th. Last year, 16th. We have literally fenced it between all 4 boxes. They're somewhere in the bottom 5. Fazz, talk to me. You've got them 15th. You think they're staying up? Talk to me.
Yeah, look, just a quick shout out to Glenn. Hey, Glenn, mad Carlton supporter, Glenn. So living in Bali, love you. Love that. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, I've got them 15th. I've got them surviving. To be honest, I don't know why. I think it was just because I could pick 3 teams that were shitter than them, maybe. I don't know. But to be honest, I guess I'm looking at, and their squad is 3 pages long. So
it's great. We talk about mate, depth wins Premier Leagues.
Oh, mate, they have the depth coming out their ass. But I will say, just a nice cheerio, nice farewell to the great Jesse Lingard, mate. Whatever comes your way, I hope it's shit. So good luck.
Well, we did call it last year. Actually, Fazz did say, "I can't wait till we do this show next year,"
Yeah,
and
I did. Yeah.
He's been released.
Yep.
Well, there you are.
Goodbye, Jesse. Big fan of the show, I'm sure. But so 15th, I think I really rate Steve Cooper. Maybe I've got a bit of a soft spot. Maybe I've got a bit of a soft spot for British managers or whatever. But I like him. I think he's got a bit about him, a bit of like bit of Graham Potter about him. He's just that steely resolve. I don't know. I think second year in the Prem, they haven't done too much, which means they've got that consistency and that consolidation. When I had to place teams on the table, I didn't really think much of them, to be honest. I just thought there are worse teams. So they ended up 15th. So I can't really, so apology to any Nottingham Forest fans. I can't really give any information other than I just don't really rate them as anything higher than 15th. And I don't think they'll go down. They'll just be a bit of a nothing team who'll get results. And yeah, they've got a big squad. So good luck to any fantasy players out there who've got Nottingham as their backup team, because they've got a big squad.
It's interesting there. Big Glenn in Barley. Good day to you. He's a Spurs fan. We're coming on to them. We've got Liverpool. This is, for me, I just we're laughing at their depth, but it kind of reminds me of playing for the Pitwick FC back in the UK Division 2 of the Sunday Evening News Sunday League. That it's just depth of guys that drink at the pub. Do you know what I mean? That they've got 11 players that are good, but if there is an injury, they are bringing in some absolute dross. And I just think, I just feel like that squad. I don't think Steve Cooper's the type of manager. I think few managers can manage a squad that size. And then I'd question why some of them are there, because they're either there because they're getting paid so they can't be asked. And Fazz, you're an expert, not taking the piss, of relegation battles. And
I love a relegation battle.
Of a relegation battle, it's togetherness, it's that hunger. And I just feel when you've got Serge Aouar, who's come from playing in top 4 in La Liga, and obviously on a good retirement fund, is he going to be bothered about snatching a point at Bramall Lane? I don't think he is.
No, you make a very good point. And I think when you look at teams in relegation battles, that there are things you look for, and that is smaller squads. This is a very a common thing people overlook. The smaller squads tend to stay up because they're together. They've got one purpose. I said it before: process, plan, purpose. They've got the purpose. When you've got a squad of 40 blokes or whatever, everyone's got their own agendas or whatever. But so you are right. The things you look at when fighting a relegation battle: togetherness. You look for English players, strong English players ready to get dirty. And you look for keeping clean sheets. Those 3 things. I'm not sure Nottingham Forest have that. Again, I've got them 15th because I don't think the others have that. But it is a great point. The smallest tight-knit squads tend to do better in that end. And I can seriously see Steve Cooper going, but I don't think he'll be lost. I think he'll be staying in the Premier League at another club. So, look, I did put them 15th. This was about 2 weeks ago, I think, or when I made this list. I would probably start leaning more towards the closer to your tip there than mine.
This has got Sam Allardyce is there in February written all over it, just so you know. That's my big call. Bookmark the time. 9:09, 11th of August. Sam Allardyce coaches this mob at the end of the year.
How tall is their striker? Just out of curiosity.
I'm sure.
There you go. Oh,
Chris Wood's like 9'8", isn't he?
Mate, Sam Allardyce gets a Wood over Chris Wood, mate. I can tell you that right now. He would be, mate, he'd be on the phone to him already. Big Sam. Like,
he's probably already pre-signed a contract with them.
All I need is Kevin Nolan and Andy Carroll, and I'm there.
No, mate, I agree. We've got the amazing Gllenn Hawkins is in chat, and Glennie Cameron, all the way from Barley. Spurs will win a trophy. We're coming on to them. I'm looking forward to talking about the Spurs because there is a lot to talk about. We go to my neck of the woods, not far away from me. We've got the mighty Blades. It's great to see the red and white of Sheffield United back in the Premier League, second in the Championship last year. Consensus is relegated. Fazz and me, though, quite bullish on the Blades.
Yeah.
Fazz has got them nearly mid-table, which would be a cracker if they could get there. I've got them 16th, purely because I love Sean Bean as well. But Heckingbottom, young coach, he gets it. He's played for just about every club in the Northeast as well. Like, he's an icon. But I think they've signed pretty well as well for a team. Like, for me, when I look at teams coming up, I like teams that sign with a mind of staying in. Do you know what I mean? If they go back to the Championship, and they haven't brought in anyone really that screams, I'm leaving if you get relegated, which is huge. But they've kept the squad together, which I think is huge, is absolutely huge as well. I like to see my sides come up with the same Championship side and keep that ethos, because like Faz says, togetherness. And Red Pill Bosnak, Armitage, he was a cult hero there. They've got some great young players there as well. And these are a side that's got a big core English contingent that I think will be up for the scrap. I don't think anyone wants to play away Bramall Lane on a Saturday afternoon.
Fact. You stole my thunder a bit there, which is why I've got them so high. Strong English contingent, shit place to play away. They have 19 points, away game, 19 points. You've got to take that away from them. They're going to be very hard to beat at home. The togetherness, like you said, the reason I've got them so high is because they've been there before. Like they've been there before. It's a similar group, been there before. Wonderful first season, went down, Championship, came back. They know what it's about. But the strong English contingent, I'm a bit biased, I guess, but English players, they know this shit. They know it. Like it's the Premier League. Like I think they're going to be good to watch. I'm really going to enjoy them. Really enjoy them.
They're a good fun team to watch, and you know what as well? I actually think Heckingbottom breaks the mold as well, because it's not an ugly style of football as well. It's a very mid-90s style of football with counter-attack, get the ball long, target man flicking it on, some young little players chasing after it. I think I'm a big fan of, in today's game of possession, I think there's still a place for the 90s Route 1.
Oh, absolutely.
Flick it on. And I think I'm more questioning this side next year. I think this year there'll be enough shock factor to be like, how the fuck do you beat them? It's next year when they have that stability. And that's where I think a lot of promoted teams fuck up, right? What you do in the transfer next year says everything to me. If they start going after some South American that scored 4 goals in the under-21 World Cup 6 years ago, I'll panic. As long as they start looking at your players like Johnny Evans and stuff next year and say, right, we're 16th, let's stay there another year. Let's really cement it. Then I'll start being a bit more bullish on them. But I agree with you, Faz. I think United fan, I don't want to go to Sheffield fucking for 3 points.
No way. And we've seen it time and time again. And you mentioned it before, whether it was tongue-in-cheek or whatever. I am an experienced campaigner in the relegation fight. I'm also an experienced campaigner in being a newly promoted team and what it takes. And a lot of teams do well in the first season. But where I think West Ham did really good when we came up, well, it's a while ago now, but and what teams do well is don't run before you can walk. Accept that you're going to finish 16th, 15th, 14th. Almost do it at one spot a year each time. If you want to try and go from, let's just say they finish 16th, like you said, they want to go from 16th to 10th, they're going to fail because they'll try and do too much. So you've just got to do it slow. It's a process. It's a plan. I've said that many times. They've got to stick to it. Again, I've got them 13th. I think they'll finish around about that mark. But like they did when they came up a couple of seasons ago, that's a false commodity. because they'll think, oh, we're 13th, we can start doing what we do, and blah, blah, blah. And they end up just go crashing back down, or worse, oh, we finished 13th, we don't need to do much. And that's even worse than, trying.
It always reminds me exactly what you said there of Blackpool. Do you remember Blackpool?
Yeah.
They had that great first year, and then they started spunking up money on idiots who were not good enough for the Premier League, trying to get creative. I agree with you, Fazz. If they finish 16th, they should be looking at Premier League experience, you players like Dawson, Wolves, them type of signings that we're going to cement, get a more Premier League experience, and then maybe take a punt on an 18-year-old who can learn from Dawson in training to maybe replace him when you get to 14th and 13th and build it slowly.
Absolutely.
I agree with you, Faz. Some teams, what we said about Newcastle is the same as newly promoted teams. They stay in, and then they get illusions of grandeur. Oh, my God, we could do a Leicester. Let's buy this South American Samba superstar.
And I think that's the perfect point. Whether you're fighting for the title, whether you're fighting for Champions League, or whether you're fighting for safety, it's the same process. It is the same process. You're doing the same thing, but just at a different scale. And until supporters and clubs get their head around that, teams will struggle. But I do back Sheffield. I think that they will manage it.
Be great to see Chef Wednesday join them next year. That would be a grouse.
Here we go.
Derby, but here we are. I'd imagine you're not allowed second teams, but I'd imagine every Australian suddenly is a Spurs fan.
Don't.
all sorts. I'm actually looking forward to talking about Ange because I've hated him for 2 years. But it's great to talk about them now. He doesn't coach Celtic, but 8th last year, 7th consensus, 7th from Fazz, 7th from me. This one here, see what we've said about Newcastle and Sheffield United. I fear for this club because Daniel Levy is a muppet. If he trusts Ange, which he should do, I'm telling you now, as a fan of his biggest rivals, right, Rangers, if he gets time, they're a bona fide top 4 side, and they will be better than Spurs have ever been, right? Because they will be substance. Me and Faz last year said they're a nothing club. The problem is, Arsenal, you know what you're getting. United, you know what you're getting. Liverpool, you know what you're getting. Spurs, you're just getting fucking wet porridge is what you're getting. Ange will bring something back. Now, Kane, he's going to Bayern Munich. Huge loss. You know, one thing I'll say, that was always going to happen. And Ange, he's such a good coach. He hasn't panicked, right? Because usually at this stage, we would see they've got money to burn, Spurs. A panic buy in preparation for him to go. You would see them bid on Neymar or something like that. The panic would set in. We're losing Kane, but Ange doing what Ange does. He cemented the Kuleneski deal. Maddison comes in, quality signing, Premier League quality. You know what he is. He's gone with some young centre-backs. Mickey van der Ven, absolute jet centre-back as well. At the World Cup, he was phenomenal. Staple there. This is a proper Ange moment. Pedro Porro comes in as well. An actual right-back, not a Mickey Mouse one. I like what Ange is doing. If he gets time, they are top 4, and potentially what he buys could be a top 2 club, I think, with Ange. I think Ange is that good. My issue is, what is Levy going to do? Because Levy there, he is the problem.
Tottenham. There's 2 sides of the story to this Tottenham team. It's obviously very harsh because I'm wearing a Socceroos shirt, but my father-in-law actually said to me the other day, he said, "Oh, you must be really excited to see Ange managing Tottenham," or I said, yeah, whatever. But I did think about it a little bit, and I thought, Ange Postecoglou managed Australia, which I really enjoyed, but he's also managed three of the teams I hate most. He managed Melbourne Victory, which I can't stand. He managed Celtic, which I fucking despise. And he now manages Tottenham, which obviously I can't stand. So this notion of that because I'm Australian, I've got to love Ange Postecoglou. As far as I'm concerned, he can get in the bin. He may as well be Greek. He may as well be Greek instead of Australian. I could give two squirts of piss about fucking Ange Postecoglou, especially now that he's at Tottenham. So I just want to get that side of it away. I hope he fails. I hope he's never seen again because honestly, fuck that. Now, Tottenham. Well, they're fucked, aren't they? Because they just lost Harry Kane. So they're in a big, big world of hurt. Yeah. I know, that's what I say. He's Greek. Yeah, but everyone wants to claim him as Australian. But as far as I'm concerned, he's Greek because I've got no interest in what he does. Yeah, look, now on to the real stuff. Tottenham, I think they've made some awesome signings. Maddison is so underrated in this league. I think playing for Leicester, we didn't really see the best he can do. And now, all seriousness, Postecoglou ball, whatever they want to call it, Ange ball, it's good. It is very good. It will take the Premier League, assuming he gets the time, like you said. But I don't think he will. I think he'll be gone. I think he'll be sacked by November because England won't give him the time. England won't give an Australian manager the time. Tottenham will not give him the time, especially when they've sold Harry Kane. So I worry for Ange as a manager. Like I said, I could care less because of who he's managing. But they're in bang trouble. I think they're in big trouble. I made this 7th prediction before Harry Kane left, and now that he's gone, yeah, I don't know. They're in trouble.
See, that's my fear. At the moment, and I think you're a Spurs fan. He doesn't like what you're saying. I fear. I'm with Fazz. Daniel Levy has a history of this, and the problem is with Spurs, the fans didn't like it, right? The fans didn't like it, which I understand, right? I understand. An Australian coach in the Premier League, it's a little bit like, I can tell you, a POM talking about AFL. The traditionalist. No, it is. It's the old people. True. The over 30s don't get it. They can't understand that not English people and Europeans play the game, right? Do you know what I mean? That Tottenham's hardcore fan base are old, lower middle class, white guys who they do what they do, and fair play to them. So Ange's going to have to win them over. Now, one thing I'll say about Ange, Celtic was the same thing. Big Catholic area, old school. They didn't like it. I remember my mate, God bless him, Nath, ringing me, and saying, "Who's this fucking idiot you've given us? Can you fucking back? We've just lost to Tranmere 2-0. Right? Do you know what I mean? And I was like, Ange will be fine, brother. Ange will be fine. Do you know what I mean? Ange will be fine, right? And look what he did. So one thing Ange does is he creates that discourse very quickly, very, very quickly with the fan base. And that's how he won Celtic around, right? My fear with Ange is two things, right? One, if the results go the way I think they will, which I think it will be a feeding. Without Kane, I'm hoping it buys him time. And Levy's sensible. Yeah. You've lost, statistically, a striker as good as Haaland, right? Hopefully he gives him time on the back of that. But I fear Ange knows this is his only chance to coach in Europe. If he fails here, he'll never get a Premier League job. And my fear is, when the pressure comes, does he stray from who he is? Does he stray from what he is? Because if he does what he's good, I have them, like I say, bullish, top 4 the year after. They need to get over this Kane thing. But I look at Ange ball, Richarlison ready-made to replace Kane because the striker that scored all the goals at Celtic, winger, who was given his central spot, became mental, right? You look at him in Japan, same thing. Broad wide players played them centrally, right? He'll be fine. Yeah. So Richarlison, he's going to bang him in. I think he'll be fine. I'm just hoping Levy keeps his meat hooks off because if they finish 8th, 9th, Levy thinks he's
gone. Yeah, if they finish 8th, 9th, Postecoglou. And look, at the moment, I get it. I understand. I've had this argument all day today. This is not a fucking farmers league. It's not the A League. It's not Japan. It's not Celtic in a 1-horse race or a 2-horse race. Sorry, Pommy. This is the Premier League. He does not coach out of fear. I get it, but he doesn't know fear yet. Postecoglou has not experienced fear yet because he has not managed in the Premier League yet. This is the Premier League, right? Don't sit there and tell me Postecoglou's not scared. He won't shy away from himself. He don't know, mate. He ain't got out of bed in the morning. This is the greatest, toughest, hardest league in the world. Now, I want to make myself clear because I think people have misunderstood me. My issue is not about will he do well, won't he do it? My issue is that people automatically think Australians have to love Tottenham because of Ange Postecoglou. And as I mentioned, he's managed 4 teams. In fact, add South Melbourne to that, who only real, like, traditional NPL fans, South Melbourne, I fucking hate South Melbourne. 5 teams he has managed that I actually can't stand. So to be honest, Postecoglou means nothing to me as far as an Australian goes. He's coached the World Cup, please. I get it. Even Graham Arnold finished better than Postecoglou did in a World Cup. So don't hang that on. All right, come on. This is the Premier League, for God's sake. I know we're all Australians. I know we all want him to do well, but it's the Premier League. It's the Premier League, Pom. How many times do I have to say it?
Mate, I'm with you. I at the moment, I think what you're thinking is it's an attack on Postecoglou.
It's not.
We've both said, given time, he'll be quality. My issue is
time, he'll be awesome. Given time, if they give him 18 months, 2 years, fantastic. Tottenham top 4 Champions League, but he won't, man. He won't. They won't give him time because it's Tottenham.
Do you know what I mean? And like, do you know what I mean? Like, most of the coaches that were coaching at Tottenham they're Dan Levy, right? You see, if you said to Dan Levy, he's won 4 NSL club titles, he'd be like, what computer game's that? Right?
Yeah, and again, oh, mate, it's my criticism is not on that.
Yeah, Dan Levy's issue is if in his mind, Dan Levy right now is top 4, top 5. He's probably knocked it down to top 6 because Kane's gone, but I doubt he has because it's Dan Levy. Dan Levy straight away will be going, oh shit, European League winner. Oh, can we get Nagelsmann if I pay him more? That's what he'll do.
Fact.
Dan Levy has a history of doing that. He will get it. So for me, right, this isn't a pot of Australians. It isn't like, don't make it what it's not. Heed my words.
Exactly.
Postecoglou, as a coach, I think he's too good for Spurs, right? I wanted him to go to Brighton where he'd get time.
Agreed.
Oh,
agreed.
Spurs, their fan base, straight away, they always think they're as good as Arsenal, right? Man United, they have themselves in that echelon. Every foreign manager who isn't English or has won a Champions League or won something like that, straight away, fans are moronic, see Michael Voss comments, and they expect better than what they deserve. So straight away, I can tell you, you lose the first 6 games, Tottenham fans are going to be like, should have got Nagelsmann. Yeah. Should have got Nagelsmann. Levy's an idiot. Should have gone with someone tried and tested. No one cares about Japanese football. Gary Lineker went over there for banter. That's what they'll start saying, and then Levy will react, and he will sack him to save face because Levy is the biggest coward in the Premier League.
He is. And again, this is not, he's a good manager. It's not, my issues are not with him. It's with the teams he's managed. And again, South Melbourne, yes, they won all these trophies, but I fucking hate them. Why would I care about what he won in the NSL when I hate South Melbourne? Would he be a knockout at West Ham? Yes, Postecoglou would be. In fact, he should have gone to a West Ham. He should have gone to a Brighton. Well. He would have got time. He's going to get the sack at Tottenham. In fact, if Postecoglou can keep his job at Tottenham, he may, in fact, be the greatest manager we've ever seen in our lives. But he simply won't get the time because Daniel Levy's an idiot. This is not an attack on Postecoglou. It's not an attack. It's an attack on the owner who's a moron. That's what it is. And it's an attack on everyone telling me I have to love Tottenham because Ange Postecoglou manages them. That's what it's an attack on as well.
That was just.
I hope they get relegated, mate.
That was just bait. That was just pommy bait. Like, and I got it. I got it because Amy, all due respect, the Poms couldn't give a fuck. Do you know what?
Yeah,
if you said to a Tottenham fan, right? If a Tottenham fan said to you in a bar, "Oh, let's see what Ange does when he's playing Sheffield United away after 3 losses," and you said, "Oh, you don't know anything about Australians. We're fighters." That Tottenham fan, word for word, would reply, "We've won 2 wars, been invaded 84 times, and kicked them out. We beat the Vikings, we beat the Normans, we beat the fucking Romans." Do you know what I mean? Queen Boudica, she told them to fuck off. She was a woman warrior queen. That's what they'd say because they're old school. So they don't care. They will be literally Spurs fans will be demanding for Nagelsmann if Levy doesn't back him in. And I think Ange said it on SEN when he won the when he won the cup, when he won the league with Celtic. If I'm a mid-table team, I'm getting Ange now before another side gets him. And I back him in. But the problem is, you don't get backed in the EPL at some clubs. And Spurs literally think they're a 3rd place team with an 8th team list.
Yeah. That's all.
I agree. If you don't support the Blues, are you really Australian?
Hey, I support everything to do with Australian, but at the end of the day, he's managing. He's not managing. He's not managing Australia, is he? He's managing Tottenham. Like, far out.
Mate, I'm with you because Carlton fans used to have a go at me that I didn't like Celtic. I had someone say to me, Pom, if you really want to be taken to in Australia, you'll support Celtic and support Ange. He's a Carlton boy. And I'm like, fucking, you could get my nan to coach Celtic and I wouldn't support them. I mean, and I love that woman more than anyone alive. So, I've got an invested interest, though, because honestly, Poms love an underdog story. So you'll find...
Here we go.
It'll be like Scotland. Poms love an underdog, and the media are writing him off. So if he gets a couple of wins, people will get behind him very quickly. He'll have the best time. But we come on to the only team in London, in my eyes, to be honest. Right, do you know what I mean? And I hate Southerners. But David Moyes, former Manchester icon. Interesting this, right? Last year, 14th, 19th, the consensus is. They've got you relegated. Transfer bias, but 14th, Fazz, you have them. And I had them fucking 12th, Fazz. So these are your team. You take it away.
Look, you think I was harsh on Tottenham, just buckle up because it's just been one disaster after another. West Ham had the greatest moment in their recent history, probably 50 years, winning the European trophy, which is fantastic. But since then, losing their captain, Declan Rice, which everyone, I mean, that was the worst kept secret in the world. So we always knew he was going to go. That's fine. But it's the things that have occurred after that. Scamacca leaving, Cresswell wanting to leave, Antonio looking at Saudi Arabia. And this is the thing about the Saudi Arabian clubs. They're not going to affect the big clubs. They're actually going to ruin the mid-table clubs, Saudi Arabia, because they will offer these types of players big money. So they're not going to ruin your Manchester Cities or Arsenals or all that. They're actually going to ruin the middle clubs. So that's something to keep an eye on in the future. Look, signed Edson Alvarez, Mexican midfielder, fantastic. How he'll develop or how he'll cope in the Premier League is to be seen. If anything that David Moyes is to go by, he'll probably play him around about January. You know, that's probably when he'll be ready, knowing David Moyes.
Take a selfie, though, when he scores.
Oh, geez, he loves a selfie. Reported Harry Maguire and James Ward-Prowse. I think they're wonderful, wonderful signings for West Ham, given the fact losing Mark Noble last season, losing Declan Rice this season, needing some leaders and some English leaders. Again, I'm very biased. I want English leaders in my team. So having Harry Maguire, who I think disgraceful, would not be short of honest how people have reacted to that transfer. Yes, he's not a Ten Hag player. He's not a United player. He's not a play the ball out the back player. But what he is, he's a 6 foot big centre back, English, hoofball, David Moyes, Sam Allardyce type of player, which is what West Ham are. And a few West Ham fans need to probably get in the mindset of this is what West Ham are at the moment. So I think Harry Maguire's a monster signing. 14th, conservative. I did make that call before we had made these signings. With more signings to come, I think anywhere from 8th to 12th with a good cup run is probably not out of the realms. But David Moyes, he could be the first manager sacked. Very, very big chance.
You see, I made my decision on waiting to see the 105 million being spent because I think people criticised David Moyes. Man United fans did as well when he came. And I remember when we had Moyes, I didn't hate Moyes. One thing I said is you had to give him time because he's come from, no disrespect, but Everton to Manchester United is like Earth to Neptune, right? It's a different world, right? It's a different world.
Yeah.
And I was like, it's going to take him a while to get used to what type of players work. But West Ham, I think, is David Moyes' level. He knows how to build a squad. He knows how to be good on his side. I don't think, all due respect to Moyes, they're ever going to be a top 8 side under Moyes. But Moyes can get them to 9th and 8th, right? If they want to really get into that top 4, I think, yes, you need a new coach that's progressive, that's exciting. If that's an Ange, if that's a Potter, so be it. But I think you need someone with vision of modern-day football. Moyes is stabilising football. But James Ward-Prowse, brilliant. Premier League proven. You know James Ward-Prowse is going to give you what you give you. Maguire, I'm glad you've said what you say it because I said it about him when we signed him. At Leicester, it's see ball, clear ball. At United, we're talking about top 4 Champions League. You've got to be able to play the ball. It's not his job. It's not his fault. You've signed a Ferrari to cut your lawn. Right? It's the inverse of that. Do you know what I mean? Get the job. So I think he's a great signing for you. His leadership as well as James Ward-Prowse. And you've been linked with some good players as well. And obviously, if Paqueta goes, you've got like a 200 million war chest, which I think mid-table. And I think I can see Moyes leaving at the end of the year, to be honest. And I think you'll go with a new coach. And who that will be, I don't know. But I would love to see Graham Potter just quietly coach this mob.
Yeah, no, I think Graham Potter's a good shout. Michael Carrick is my shout of next West Ham manager. Yes, that's just hot take. But no, it's interesting. We'll see what happens. The money's there, but it's about players gelling in and getting started. I think with another European season there as well, it's going to make life difficult. So they need to get a bigger squad. But I guess if you could turn Rice and Paqueta into, Alvarez, Ward-Prowse, Maguire, and a couple others, it's probably a good result, all things considered. So, yeah.
West Ham will be cheering them on, as always, Fazz, for you. And then we talk about wet wipe teams. Wolves do my head in, right, as we talk about them, because I don't understand how Wolves are where Wolves are. And I know that might sound, Pom, have you lost the plot? But just a couple of years ago, we were talking about these in the esteem of Brighton, that next side that could potentially get into the top 6. And then they went under this bizarre method of what me and Fazz have talked about. Illusions of grandeur. Last year, it was every 5 days they sacked a coach almost. An obsession with buying Portuguese players. 13th last year. Mass exodus this year. Consensus has them bottom. Fazz has them second bottom. I have them bottom 3. What is going on with this football club?
Yeah, trouble. Managers walked out just before the season starts. Not many signings. Yeah, they're just trouble. It just reeks of a club who have made a few mistakes and they're unable to financially get them out of those mistakes. So, yeah, I think they're in trouble. There's not much more to say. I love Craig Dawson, but
I was going to say the big signing, Craig Dawson. There, big get. Your favorite?
Yeah, I do love. I loved Ballon d'Orson, but it's the 19th. I think was generous, to be honest. I can see them finishing dead last. It's sad.
They are definitely just they're a side that, like I say, it was only a couple of years ago they finished 10th, and everyone was bullish that they could go that next level. They were playing attractive football. It was really good football. And this is what we're talking about. Illusions of grandeur, right? Yeah. They suddenly start to think we are a top 8, top 4 club. Europe's on the horizon, and they lose sight of what got them to 10th. And they should have been thinking, let's just try and stay 10th again. We're probably 5 places too high. But instead, they thought, let's try and get in that top 6 and punted on Portuguese players because Cristiano Ronaldo is Portuguese. And look where they are now.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's just sad. I think as a team, as a supporter of a team who is in that bracket, this is your worst nightmare. And to be honest, prior to maybe 2 days ago, I was thinking this could be West Ham in that regards of not being able to sign people, losing your best players. So as a Wolves fan, Gary O'Neill, I love Gary O'Neill, another ex-Hammer. Really like what he did at Bournemouth. If you can escape this season, survive, huge, man, huge. That'd be monstrous. Yeah, I don't want to be too glum because there's 38 games, but I just hope Gary O'Neill can do what he can do. And because I like the Wolves, I've got a bit of a soft spot for them. So, yeah, but I just can't see it.
Mate, everyone loves that goldy orange kit, don't they? It's iconic, but I think it's a long, hard road. But we have the first week, which means we have the first week's tips. So if you go on Twitter or Insta, me and Fazz are hosting a banter FPL. So you can get involved in that. The link is in the description. But we start off City, begin their title defence at 5 a.m. And both me and Fazz predicting a hammering.
Yeah. Stiff for Burnley that they went back to the traditional winners of the league plays the winner of the championship in the first game. They stopped doing that for a bit, didn't they? They certainly didn't do it last season. But anyway, it's stiff for Burnley that they've gone back to tradition because they're going to get a bit of a rude welcoming to the Premier League, and Haaland might just score all 5.
Mate, it's a baptism of fire. Anyway, I mean, you're gonna see. At least they're gonna learn very quickly what it takes to play in this level. I've always liked the 21st best side playing the first best side at the start of the game. And then we've got the runners-up playing Notts Forest. Arsenal entertain them. Faz, you've gone 3-0. I've gone 4-1. Should be routine, though, shouldn't it?
Yeah, Gunners will do the business pretty comfortably. Yeah.
They shouldn't be threatened. I think, though, it's going to be a hammering. And then we've got... you've gone Ripper. I've gone Borefest. 2-2. Bournemouth, West Ham. 0-0. I've gone Faz. You're expecting goals.
I am, because I think both teams have the defense of a sieve at the moment until Harry Maguire gets to West Ham. But yeah, I think it'll be 2-2. I think it'll be a classic. I think it'll be a real bang on. Just both teams have a chance to win it at the end, but it'll end up 2-2. Happy with that.
Yeah, I just went with the theory that both sides, these are the games you've got to draw for West Ham.
Yeah.
So I just feel it's a game that you can't lose, Bournemouth as well.
Mate, and you just know Moyes will rock up wanting a 0-0.
Yeah, so I just kind of willed out. But then we have the other new starters, Luton Town. They have a very tricky away day to Brighton,
Stiff.
not a nice place to go. And we're both predicting quite an easy win for Brighton.
Yeah, well, Brighton's an interesting team. You know, I'm very intrigued to see how they go with their, transfer window. Obviously, losing Casiado, but 3-0 Luton. Luton need to kind of show me. They need to earn my trust, Luton, I think, before I can start backing him.
Yeah, I was the same. I thought it was going to be easy. I just thought it's going to be an awkward style of play. So I didn't think Brighton would go too many. But I wouldn't be shocked to see that be 7-0 the way Brighton play, because they just attack. And then we've
I'm not going to lie. When I said to you, I actually had 6-0 first. I'm like, oh, no, that's a bit much. I reduced it to 3. So, yeah.
No, I'm with you. I would not be surprised to see that be a blowout, to be fair. But our first difference of opinion this year, you've gone 0-0, Everton, Fulham. I've gone a clear 2-0 win for Fulham. What are you thinking there, Fazz?
What's funny about this is you were the one who actually convinced me in regards to Everton's credentials. In regards to when we spoke about them last week with Shaun Dux, and I think at home, Shaun Dux, they are going to be rock solid. I can't see them conceding, and I certainly can't see them scoring. So if you don't concede, you don't score. It tends to be a 0-0.
No, it makes sense. I just think Fulham are just too good. Too good. I think they'll want to start well. I've just got a feeling that Fulham are going to back up last year's late season form quite early doors and tail off at the end. I think Dyche gets better as it gets to the hard bit of the year. Do you know what I mean? When it gets real, when teams are rotating and playing in Champions Leagues, that's when he's annoying. When he's putting 11 men behind the ball and you're playing your kids. But another disagreement. We've gone Sheffield United. We were both bullish on them. And Roy Hodgson, older than time. You've gone 1-0. I've gone 2-0 Palace.
I actually couldn't split these teams. I so it 1-0, obviously. Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting. If it was the other way around, if it was Palace at home, I probably would have leant towards Palace. But I just think Sheffield, newly promoted, have that what do you call it? The energy that from being promoted. Yeah, I think they'll do it.
Hey, I'm with you. I mean, this game excites me about as much as walking the dog, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's one of them games that, I found it hard, but my theory was young forward line, Roy Hodgson. I reckon Ezzy's going to have a day out with Zaha no longer there, and Villa, who have decided to completely copy Chelsea's logo in the rebranding.
Weird, that one.
I'm very impressed how Villa have got that through the copyright. Just change it a little bit. Versus Newcastle now. You've gone 2-2. I've gone Eddie Howe masterclass at St. James's Park.
Yeah, 2-2. Villa for me are going to be the surprise packets. So I just think they're going to get off to a good start. And I'm tipping they're going to be 2-0 up. And I reckon Newcastle will Eddie Howe masterclass in the second half to get a 2-2 all.
An exciting nail biter there, I reckon. It could go either way because I think Villa will be good. But then we've got Brentford. And everyone knows it's not a good place to go opening day of the season. They entertain Angie's Spurs. We've both gone with them losing. Faz, why do you think Spurs will lose?
I just think the Harry Kane transfer is going to be a bit of a shock. And anyone, shock's maybe the wrong word because they might have thought he was going, but you only need to be off 1 or 2% in professional sport for it to go wrong. And I feel like there'll be a bit of a down. Oh, shit, Kane's not here. And I just don't think they'll be up for the fight day one.
No, I'm with you. I think also Brentford are very experienced. That they are the worst. Honestly, ever since last year, we've seen new coaches. That they're a very tough side. They're not the side if you're a foreign coach to play your first game in the Premier League. You don't want them because they are just a very wily team. And then this is the biggest game, I think, because two teams that were disappointing last year, lot to prove. You're bullish on Chelsea.
Yes.
I'm backing in Jurgen Klopp. This should be an interesting one.
Yeah. For me, I just went with the home ground. I don't think you see these teams, the big teams, have too many draws against each other, being at Stamford Bridge. And I honestly reckon if it was at Anfield, I would have gone 3-1 the other way. Do you know what I mean? To me, this game has 3-1 written all over it, either way. And I just went with 3-1 Chelsea at home. And it's not going to be a traditional 3-1. Do you know what I mean? 3-1 says it's a battering. I think it'll be a real tight game with like a 90-second winner. Like, not winner, 90-second, to make it 3. But if it was at Anfield, I would have swapped it. So I think it's going to be actually tighter than what that 3-1 suggests.
I've just got a feeling that Liverpool are going to come out of the blocks hard. I have this theory that Liverpool will win very comfortably their first few games and everyone will start talking about them. And just got this vision that they're going to have that false dawn, like you see sometimes. And then my boys, we entertain Wolves, and we've both predicted that Ten Hag should finally get his opening day win that he's craved. 5-0 Fazz, and I went 4-0.
Yep. Take the piss.
I can't wait to do the show next week after a 1-0.
Mate, it'll be. If I say 5-0, and I think it'll be an even more dominant 5-0 than what Man City's 5-0 is going to be. So, yeah.
On paper, United should win this at a counter without getting out of second gear. Like, I'd give Fred, Maguire, and McTominay a farewell game in this one, and still expect a comprehension. But that is all we've got time for. We'll be back next week where we'll recap the week that has, plus the week that had, and any transfer news, because no doubt this time next week, Neymar has signed in the Premier League, and we're all Sandra starring it up.
Yep, and just apologies if I offended any Australian fans, but no apologies if I offended any Tottenham fans. So
much love, everyone. Thank you for watching, and see you next week.